Welcome to a new episode of the Language Surfer podcast. My guest for today is Lavinia Popescu Nau, and we are going to cover a topic about procrastination. But before we go into our topic, I would like to briefly introduce you Lavinia Popescu. So Lavinia is a mental health therapist, and she has a Master of Science in Clinical Psychology from the Illinois Institute of Technology, and also a bachelor's degree in psychology from the Jaume I University in Spain. Lavinia, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I'm really honored to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where are you living? And especially, why did you decide to study psychology?
So I was where should I start? Because I've been I've been in so many places, but I was born in Romania, and when I was 12 years old, I moved to Spain. My family um moved to Spain. So my basic education in psychology is it's in Spain, and my basic training is in Spain. And my early career, I
Mhm.
should say, in psychology is in Spain. When I finished school, when I finished university, I moved to the UK to challenge a little bit myself and to see how things are done in psychology in the UK.
Mhm.
And I lived there for 2 years. I worked as a group facilitator
Mhm.
for people with severe mental health disorders. And 5 years ago, I moved to Chicago, and still working in mental health after probably almost 10 years since I finished school. Um, and I started working in a hospital. It was like a behaviors hospital for adolescents.
Mhm.
Um, and afterwards, I had to start a little bit over. Um, and I decided to enroll in a master's degree and pursue um, the career in a mental health, like a mental health therapist. So right now I work as a mental health therapist here in South Chicago, um, and I'm seeing a wide range of population. I have kids, adolescents, young adults, adults, and families, couples,
Mhm.
court cases. And I love what I'm doing. So um, you asked me something about how I started or
Exactly.
how
Yeah,
I
why
choose.
did you choose?
Right. I think I was like 9, 10 years old. The school in Romania organized a field trip to an orphanage in Romania, and we had to give up like a toy from our house to the kids in need. I went there, and it was such an impactful experience. And when I arrived home, I told my mom that what I will do growing up is helping people. I don't know how, but I will help people having a better life. And
Mhm.
this is how later in life, at 12, 13, I figured out that I would like to work as a psychologist. And here I am. I only did this for 10 years almost.
Perfect. Wow, that's such a nice story. And yeah, definitely psychology is a nice way to help other people, right?
Right, right.
Great. And yeah, so for our today's topic, we agreed to discuss about procrastination. And I think this is a topic that everyone deals with, right, in our daily life. But before we go into the topic, let's start with the beginning. And can you just define what procrastination is?
Um, I think we all heard about procrastination.
Yeah.
It's such a like common topic right now. So it's basically something that we delay doing it, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to get it done. Um, we purposely delaying it. Um, I I didn't know this, but before you invited me, no, after you invited me for the podcast, I had to look into a little bit into the research, and apparently there is two ways of procrastination. One is active and one is passive.
Okay.
What we know, and I think what we most hear about it's about the passive procrastination. Um, the active procrastination is like I purposely decide to delay a task because I know in the future I will do it better, right? And I can give you an example. For example, um, I will dedicate a year to work in the field, and after that, prepare myself for a PhD, to apply for a PhD, right? I procrastinate. That's like an active one. The passive one, it's what we struggle with. We
Exactly.
delay on doing things that we we know we have to do it. Uh, we need to do it, but the demotivation, the stress, um, it's what froze us of doing it, right? I don't know if I'm like explaining it very well, but
Yeah,
help.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's like the passive procrastination. I guess today we're gonna talk more about that.
Yeah, definitely. But what do you think it makes procrastination such a common struggle? Because, as you well said before, almost everyone deals with procrastination at certain point in their life or specific areas, right? In specific areas, maybe we tend to procrastinate more in a specific area of our life and not so much in others, right? So, what do you think it makes it such a common struggle?
I think it's like the high levels of stress we are facing, and we put so much pressure on us, you know. But stress, I'm pointing stress because if we look through the history of our generations, we can see that our society now is struggling with stress, academic stress, professional stress, life stress, you
Yeah.
know. The society tells us what to do and in what moment of our life. And if we don't do it, they make us believe that we fail, you know. So I'm associating it to stress. Um, yeah, stress is like the
The
biggest
first
part.
the main cause would be, yeah.
Right.
Can you think of other causes that mm, impact procrastination?
I think it's like the motivation too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't find the motivation to be compliant with a task or to finish a
Mm-hmm.
task. We are overwhelmed. We are tired. You know, most of the times we are just like tired. We don't find all this like energy to come on, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the best, and I'm gonna be this. No, sometimes we just like need to calm down, rest, and find that energy to keep going, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and to stop, you know. So the lack of motivation is another reasons for procrastination. And one of them should be the other one should be like fear
Mm-hmm.
of like failing,
Yeah.
uh, completing those tasks according to our standards or
Mm-hmm.
our family standards. I'm thinking like more right now about like the students, um, that I will give you a quick example. Um, I was doing group therapy for college students
Mm-hmm.
um, here in Chicago, and it was one of their biggest struggle. You know, they were always saying, "Why I'm like procrastinating? You know I have to get it done, but I'm like I'm once I'm at the limit of my deadline. This is when I start. I'm stressed. I'm rushing it, and I don't finish how I expected. You know."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but some of like the international students, what we were like talking during this group is their families were putting a lot of pressure on them
Mm-hmm.
because they were paying for education abroad. So they had that fear of like failing their parents and not having that great GPA that will make their parents be proud of.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, the
And
fear.
from your perspective as a mental health therapist, what is the impact of procrastination? How does it affect mental health? How does it affect productivity and our quality of life, generally speaking?
So I think the main things that affect the most is self-esteem and self-confidence. When these two things fail, we have poor work ethic, poor relationships that we are building, um, poor academic success, poor everything. You know, you don't trust yourself, you don't think you are enough. So whatever you are doing is gonna make you feel inferior to other people. So yeah, I think like one of the biggest areas that get affected is the work ethic, you know, because you don't trust yourself that you will do it good enough. It also can be related to the imposter syndrome too, you know, and your personal relationships, because you are facing now anxiety, you are facing depression. Now you are, you know, you started to fall little thing, and now that it grows because you are avoiding of doing something, or you are delaying to doing something that brings you stress, and that stress affects your self-esteem, self-confidence, and that builds. I'm doing a pyramid, but people to understand that by avoiding a little thing, a tiny thing, it creates a whole mental health disorder that can be depression and anxiety, which is very, very common in our society right now, especially anxiety. So it's awful to wake up with anxiety episodes, or feeling anxious, or having generalized anxiety through every day. So yeah, from one little thing can end up in something that at the end you should take care of it, because you know, once you get to the point that you are going to have a anxiety disorder or a depressive disorder, you really need to take care of yourself, which you didn't do for a long time.
It can really have a significant impact in the quality of our life, and also right on our relationship, right? Not only on our personal life, but the life of our family, or workmates, or the people around us, right?
Right. Isolation can be one of the biggest things out there, you know. So
And now that we've discussed about the causes and the impact, what type of strategies, what type of habits can someone build in order to fight against procrastination? And here we talk, as you all said, about passive procrastination, right? And
right.
if we consider something that is really impacting our life, like someone who tends to procrastinate and impacts their life, what would be the steps that someone can take? What type of habits can they build?
You know, I have clients in therapy, big procrastinators. I always, first step is developing a self-talk. Have a talk with yourself. See where you're at. And that works everything in life, right? But have a talk with with yourself and say, hey, I'm avoiding this task because I'm afraid of, or I don't think I'm enough. I'm not gonna do good enough. Just be mindful where you're at and start from there, right? We can start implementing all these like strategies if we don't know where we stand and where we at. So once we know that, and we are honest to ourselves, which is very, very important.
Exactly. Yeah.
We start like implementing those strategies and say, hey, this is like such a big project for me. Let me how I say it, like divide it in small steps. Where should I start? So instead of like seeing this as a big project, I will see it like, oh, I just have to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and you have 20 steps instead of like big thing. That's one strategy. Second, I really like this one. I personally like this one a lot. Sit down with your fear. Sit down with like what you are procrastinating. And start doing it for 5 minutes. And once you start doing it for 5 minutes, you realize that you just got into it. And you don't want to leave it now because you are just gonna break that mood. That's one of my favorite one. And I recommend it to everybody. You will see that it works. That is not such a big deal once you sit down and you start somewhere, you know? The big deal is like sitting down and taking that effort to sit down. So those are two things. Yeah, just like have clear your deadlines. I think we all know that, right? Deadlines, clear your deadlines. Have like work on your time management. Like
Yeah,
another
definitely.
one, right? Be I'm looking for a word about your time management. Realistic about your time management. Be realistic about your time management because sometimes we think we're gonna complete 4 tasks in one day. We're not. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Just be realistic. Today, I'm in the mood to complete only one. And it's absolutely fine if you have a deadline that is not approaching and it's not stressful. Give yourself some time. A clear mind will allow you to see things different and work on things differently.
Yeah, and maybe release a bit of the pressure from the pressure, right? Don't put such a big pressure on us.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you've
go
already
ahead.
mentioned other 2 keywords that I would like to focus on: motivation and discipline. How does motivation and discipline affect procrastination in the good or the bad sense? What's your perspective on it?
So, where should I start? With discipline, because that's a big thing in our society right now too. The 5 a.m. club, that
Yeah.
discipline
Yes.
that looks perfect on social media, in the books that we read, in the podcast we listen to. We go back to what I was saying before. Be realistic. Your discipline is not gonna look perfect the first month you are trying it. Baby steps are steady steps and will take you to further in life or where towards your goal. Big steps are shaky. So discipline obviously helps with avoiding procrastination because you will have like a schedule. You wake up in the morning and you dedicate time to yourself. You meditate, you run, you exercise. Afterwards, I don't know, you read, you go to work, and your schedule looks like, oh, after work, I'm just gonna do some other things for myself or for my personal projects. That's perfect, and obviously will work out for avoiding the procrastination, like I was saying. I encourage everybody to do it small. Don't put that pressure on you that you are creating all these like schedules and you need, you people out there, they have like colors for everything and stickers and all this stuff. Calm down. Start with like one thing for a month. Start with one thing for a month. Go and run every day or 3 times a day, 3 times a week, for a month. Implement that. We just need 21 days to implement a habit in our system, in our routine. So do that. Just start with one. Get that habit and go to the next step. You don't need 100 habits. And after that, once you don't follow them, you blame yourself, you feel guilty, and you have all these like negative emotions. No, be compassionate with yourself. We're all here to try our best. And we are trying our best if we are trying every day to do something different. So that's about discipline. The motivation is, motivation is such a tricky one because motivation comes and goes. Especially what I'm seeing, right? It's very difficult it's challenging, not difficult, it's challenging to keep motivation there every day. Again, be compassionate about yourself. Some days you're not gonna feel very motivated to pursue your goals. Still do part of it, because if you don't do a little thing, that little thing, the next day is gonna be double. So again, we're gonna go back to those like negative emotions. I'm not doing it. I'm failing to myself. I'm disappointing myself, which is a big thing. We don't want to experience those emotions, and we don't want to be even like so harsh on ourselves.
Definitely.
I think the society is what they are trying to do. Be so harsh, put so much pressure on us. Give yourself some time. We are all trying to do our best. So, and accept it the way it is. Have those self-talks, self-awareness, where I'm at, why I'm not motivated, what I'm missing. And you will find those answers if you are honest to yourself.
Yeah, I really like this aspect about being honest with ourselves. And I think it also relates, or it goes in hand with knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. Like maybe we also tend to procrastinate with tasks that we don't really like that much, or maybe with tasks that are not in our highest value, part of our rank of high priority values. And
That's a good point.
And I think it's really important that I really liked, it resonated a lot with me, the fact that you mentioned to be honest with ourselves, sit with our fears, and from there make an honest analysis and identify what are we good at, and have empathy even towards ourselves, right? It's okay to procrastinate. It's not a fact that we shouldn't procrastinate. The thing is that maybe procrastination is a sign that invites us for an introspection to see which are our values, where do we want to put the focus and the energy, right?
Right. Yeah, it's such a great reflection and such a great point. Self-awareness is one of our biggest strengths. That's why I say that procrastination affects like self-esteem and self-confidence. But when you know where you are standing and you accept yourself, I'm tired today, I don't want to do this. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. That compassion towards ourselves is what we are lacking in our society and in our daily lives. And empathy, self-awareness. You don't have then to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to look for perfections because nobody's perfect out there. You will see even that role model you have in your head that looks perfect, it's not. At some point in your life, that person is gonna do something or gonna say something that will bring your idea a little down. We're not perfect, and we didn't come here in this life to be perfect either.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. So self-awareness, um, again, to your point about the values, I really like that reflection that you made. So yeah, self-talk, positive self-talk though, positive self-talk, because the negative self-talk is not gonna help us for anything.
Yeah,
A person doesn't grow in a negative environment. A person grows in a positive environment. So
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And since we've already mentioned some of the solutions or the habits that anyone can implement to fight procrastination, are there any other additional tools or resources that you can recommend uh, when we talk about procrastinations? Are there any, I don't know, specific apps now that we live in the digital era? Is there anything from the technology point of view that can help us with procrastination? Or have you read some really good books on the topic that you can recommend? Or
So I'm not big on apps, but I will say something. First of all, let's start understanding procrastination. So
mm-hmm,
one thing I would recommend is mindfulness, guided meditation. Somebody talks to you.
mm-hmm,
Somebody helps you to be aware or of yourself, of your emotions, your body, everything around you. So that's one thing I would recommend to see, to help you be more aware of you and
mm-hmm,
spend time with yourself.
mm-hmm.
There are plenty of like books there. Um, I have to think about it, but maybe you guys like can, or people that are listening this can listen, watch the documentary uh Minimalist. It shows a little bit how to live simple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can apply it with every, you don't have to own, a tiny house. It applies to everything in your life to live simple. Um, that's a good documentary. There is a book, it's a very, very good book, but I'm really bad with the names. It says Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very good book. I recommend it to everybody. So somebody that likes reading, that's a great book.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's a good one. And now that we are reaching to our to the end of the conversation, what would be your best advice even for yourself, right? Or yeah, let's try to put you in a situation where you share with us some short story or episode where when you procrastinated, right?
Mhm.
And what would be your best advice to yourself, and something that would be uh, easily implemented by the audience, considering that there might be someone who's struggling or feeling overwhelmed currently with procrastination. So from share with us a short episode of your life where you procrastinated. What did you do? How did you handle? And what's the conclusion that you take from that experience?
Oof, I can share like a really tough experience. Um,
Let's hear
during
it.
my last during my last semester, the masters, um, so first let me start that I associated procrastination with overconfidence at some point in my life. And I always had this belief like I'm overly confident, I'm gonna get it done. So what's the point, to get it done in time? Doesn't work this way. So the last semester of the masters, I had like an assignment. It was pretty extent and assignment. I look it over. I was like, oh, I know how to do it. Topic sounds good. Why I will be bothered to do it a month before? I can do it a week before. The
Mm-hmm.
week before, I kept looking at it and I say, oh, okay, still know how to do it. I sit down to do that assignment probably 3 days before or 2 days before the deadline, which the deadline was at midnight. It was a horrible experience because my overconfidence just collapsed. I didn't know how to start that assignment. I was totally lost. I knew like how to write a page of that assignment, but it was a 10 pages assignment. When I started researching, I thought that I'm repeating myself. I was completely lost, and that was just the consequence of the stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like my brain just froze. I couldn't be resourceful. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't look for resources because the only thoughts I had was why I didn't like started before. Why I'm doing this. This is gonna turn out bad, which I never turned out like an assignment that looked bad, So I had all this negative thought, negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
You are doing this wrong. You're not gonna get good grades. This is gonna be a whole disaster. I never give up, right? And I never turn an assignment later than the deadline. Never. Even if it's the last minute, I turn it in the way it is, you know? I don't ask professor for extensions. I don't do that. It's a consequence of my behavior. I
Mm-hmm.
have to I have to be responsible of it. So I turned in the assignment very disappointed about myself. Very, very disappointed. Um, the grade didn't look too bad, but still I wasn't like happy with the result. And I shouldn't be feeling this way, right? Because when you work on something, you do something that you really like, you shouldn't have this kind of like feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what I learned from that moment was previous to this assignment, I didn't have a schedule in place. I was working, I was doing research, I was having like personal projects. I was doing all these things without a schedule,
Mm-hmm.
without something written down or in my mind saying from 9 to 10, I'm going to dedicate time to school. Because that's probably the only time I'm not going to be tired to do it after
Mm-hmm.
work, you know? So I wasn't aware of my surroundings at all. Um, I wasn't, I was overly confident and everything overly took it to an extreme. It's bad. You
Definitely.
know, that's another thing. Um, Sometimes we think we know, and it's always room for improvement and room for learning more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, what I learned, my biggest learning from this experience was you need to have a schedule. When there is many things happening in your life and you have deadlines in the middle of these things, you need to have a schedule in place. You
Mm-hmm.
need to manage your time. And you really need to dedicate time to yourself. Everybody repeats us the self-care, it's important. The self-care, it's really important. Trust me. It's
Yeah.
really important. You don't have to be in school and working to practice self-care. You just like need to do something. To just go to work 9 to 5, come home. You need some time for yourself. And don't think about the house and don't think about none of that. So time management, schedule, and self-care. So my mind was clear to see things differently. So that's one thing I recommend everybody from my experience. And the second thing is if there is people out there that are struggling any kind of way and they are having this self-talk where it's more negative than positive, I encourage everybody to go and ask for help. Um, I know there is a lot of stigma around mental health, and there is a lot of stigma around going and see a therapist, depending on different cultures. Some of them are more open, some of them are not. But as I say before, we're not perfect. We are here to try to do our best, and sometimes we just need a little support, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, definitely. I love the positive tone
Yes.
that you brought. Definitely, I don't like when I have to procrastinate, but at some point, as you said, I did this introspective exercise to see how am I really behaving when I procrastinate, and I realized that sometimes I'm maybe more creative than in when I have a bigger amount of time. But I also really believe that procrastination goes hand in hand with the values. Definitely, we tend to procrastinate something that we don't like that much, right? Or we tend to avoid. And I think that's the beauty of procrastination, that it helps you select and realize what's really valuable for you.
Yeah. And again, the self-talk. Oh, I don't want to do it because I don't like it.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
like,
know
why I don't
yourself.
like it? Oh, because this, and that. At the end, we all gonna do something in life that we're not gonna like it, you know? So it's the beauty of it. But again, what you are saying, identifying those values, right? What we don't like, what we do like about our job, for example.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a very valid point that you said. And it's also important from a management perspective, right? It's very important to know your team and to assign, if possible, type of tasks that are really aligned with what a particular team member likes to do, rather than, giving someone to do quotes if they really hate this, because in the end, they are going to procrastinate.
Right. And that will have an impact on how well they are gonna do their job. So as for a management position, I encourage everybody to know their employees, because those employees spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day with you. So they spend my mom used to always say this, you're going to spend more time at work than you're going to spend it at home. So for managers out there, know your employees, assign like tasks that they, make their lives easier. What is the point to make their life more difficult? That's gonna impact the results.
Exactly.
Why would you do that anyways? Because that will reflect on how well you manage the team.
Yeah.
So
perfect. Yeah. I really loved our conversation. Is there anything else that you would like to mention as a conclusion?
I think I hit like a lot of points. I really wanted to make sure people that need help ask for help. Parents out there that have kids procrastinators, students that they are procrastinators, don't be harsh on yourself. Just be aware and be realistic with yourself and dedicate time to you, first of all. When we are good to ourselves is when we are creative, when we do things that we never thought we would be able to do it so fast, so easy. So be kind to yourself. That's like my biggest advice. Be kind to yourself.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Lavinia. It was lovely to have you here. And I hope that the audience really enjoys the conversation and takes some nice takeaways. And yeah, we speak soon again. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.